Backgrounds in the Superman cartoons were extremely atmospheric.
Animation was not a one-man job, you know. We had specialists do different things. We had some very good people helping.
The special effects were fantastic. There are no cartoons that have been made since those Superman cartoons that are the equal of that.
The look of the cartoons actually anticipates the look of film noir films. They're very, very dark and very, very shadowy, and a lot of Dutch angles and very dynamic storytelling, which is stuff you take for granted in the film noir school.
Yes, Doctor. I've been feeling much better lately, but I'll be right over. I'll see you later, Lois. Doctor's orders.
Doctor, my eye.
The Adventures of Superman radio show began in 1940, I believe, as a syndicated show, and later on the Mutual Radio Network picked it up. The voices in the animated cartoons included at least two of the principal voices from the radio show. Bud Collyer was the voice of Superman, and Joan Alexander was the voice of Lois Lane.
Bud Collyer was the voice of Superman on the radio and was well known to people as that's how Superman sounds, so they got the real Superman to do it.
Bob Maxwell, the producer of the show, told him, well, why don't you just test it out, see, you know. And they kind of conned him into it because, you know, the pilot sold and oh, that's it, you're our guy.
The first moment when you see Clark about to transform to Superman and you hear Bud Collyer, who was the only guy in the world who could do that, when he starts out saying,
"This looks like a job for Superman."
And he just lowers his voice, and right away you get a transition. It also contributes to the illusion that maybe the people close to him would not recognize that the two are the same person.
Uncanny how Superman turns up just when you need him.
I didn't even get a chance to thank him.
There's a myth that they came up with, the look up in the sky, but that's actually from the radio. The look up in the sky, it's a bird, it's a plane, it's Superman. It's like from the first radio show. Faster than a speeding bullet, more powerful than a locomotive, able to leap tall buildings in a single bound. That appears to be invented in the cartoons. In the comic, he was always seen to leap. You don't see anything moving in a comic book or on radio. You know, it's in your mind. You know, somebody can leap and it sounds great. It sounds like he's, oh, look, listen. But he's leaping like, and it looks ridiculous. It looks really stupid. And they realize, okay, we got to stop this. They beg DC, can we make him fly? And they're like, yeah, sure, fine. Yeah, you can do that.
And so that was adopted in the comics because people expected it. Of course Superman can fly. Look, he just did. So now he can fly.
I don't believe it. He isn't human.
An unsung genius of the Fleischer cartoons was the musician Sammy Timberg. The soundtrack to that first cartoon in particular, Superman, is one of the greatest musical soundtracks. And in most of the Fleischer cartoons, it's carried a lot by the actions of the characters, the motivations of the plot, and the music. The Superman cartoons, like all Hollywood cartoons back in the 1940s and 30s, were shown to all audiences in movie theaters. Cartoons were the most popular part of the program outside of the feature.
When you went to see a funny cartoon like a Looney Tune or a Columbia cartoon, one of the others, you were looking at it sort of like an animated version of the Sunday Funnies. Most theatrical cartoons at that time were more adult fare than strictly children's fare.
These cartoons were very prestigious. Paramount made movie posters for them. They had advertising. They made a trailer. Nobody ever made a trailer for a short subject. They didn't do that, but they did it for Superman. This was a big deal.
With their robots and their futuristic settings and themes in some of them, it's obvious that they would then inspire, you know, a whole range of cartoons to come in the future.
Theatrical cartoons for years and years and decades were simply cloning Disney. They were just trying to be another Disney film. So it really took the guys at Warner Brothers in the 90s to pitch doing a Batman cartoon in the style of these old Superman cartoons. With the Batman show, you could see quite an influence.
When we started doing the Batman animated series, I was actually going to go with something a little bit brighter, gaudier, and a little bit more weird and stylized. But my boss at the time suggested that we look at the Fleischer Superman cartoons again.
I think a lot of filmmakers today look back at those and go, that's pretty impressive. I know that when we did the Superman and Batman cartoons that were animation in the 90s, those were a definite inspiration to us because we would look at them for staging and for pacing and for the idea of telling a superhero story without much dialogue.
The Superman cartoons were labors of love. They were light years away from even the Disney cartoons. To Paramount, they were probably the closest thing they could do to producing a live-action Superman series.
They are just amazing to look at. No matter how much money we spend today, we're still never going to quite top that magic.
Fleischer's marched to a different drummer. And really, only the Fleischers could have done the Superman cartoons, and they were the perfect studio to get that opportunity.
I think that for people who've never seen the cartoons before, they'll be like a buried treasure. This is some of the coolest Superman action I've ever seen because they were groundbreaking in their day. They're a triumph of design and animation and of music. They stand head and shoulders over most everything else ever done in animated adventure.